For something live. And I think we're up. I'm hoping we're up. Are we up? What if we do that? That might even be a little bit better. Let's see what happens when I do that. Show me something good. Yay. Huzzah. All right. We got a little halo today. Hello, everybody. Oh, hang on. Yep, it's Mike Meyers. I'm just waiting for somebody to tell me I got sound. I'll just assume I'm okay. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Meyers. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything live stream. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the growing coronavirus the opportunity to continue our studies for CompTIA certifications. So the goal of these AMAs is that you ask me questions and I answer them. We run till about 3 o'clock. We can run a little bit past 3 o'clock if things are going hot and heavy, but we usually are going to run till 3 o'clock or until the questions run out. So do keep that in mind. Now, you ask questions, pretty easy to do. Just type them right into the chat window here in the YouTube channel. Now, a couple of things you might want to do. One of the things you might want to consider is actually popping out the chat window, and instead of leaving it at top chat in the upper left-hand corner, switch that to live chat so everything's very much real time. All right, well, let's see what's happening down here today. Andrew Hutt's laid up. Oh, hope you're okay. You guys following the T-Mobile data breach? I am not. So I'm just looking, seeing if anybody has any questions right off the top here. Andrew Hutz, at 2:02. Mike, how secure would a well-configured personal email server be compared to something like Gmail? I feel like there are pros and cons. How secure is always a question. So in what aspect do you fear insecurity? Like, for example, if I'm in control of an email server, I'm more worried about people getting all the personal information of all the different email clients that are associated with that server. You could say I'm worried about people intercepting my email. If you're really worried about people intercepting your email, make sure that you're running everything encrypted. Encrypted POP, encrypted STMP, forget SMTP server. I'll make sure that's all encrypted. Most of them are. Gmail, for example, is if you want it to be. Also, keep in mind, the biggest problem we have with these is bad passwords. Easiest way to hack anybody's email these days is taking advantage of poor passwords. If you're more concerned about these types of things, I'd be taking a look at Proton Mail or something like that. But you're actually asking for a server, a well-configured personal email server. Okay, I mean, a well-configured personal email server is going to be comparable to Gmail in terms of its security. And, it just depends which tool you're using. Like right now, I do not like using Exchange in the cloud. Here it comes. Using Exchange in the cloud, I'm not saying it's just, we're always having to patch it and goof with it and stuff like that. So I haven't been real happy with that. Gmail's pretty secure. I mean, to me, the biggest insecurity of Gmail is you're letting Google read your mail. So that could be a big issue. But again, I do not want to run a web server anymore. Those days ended 10 years ago. So I don't want to go through that hassle. So on an individualized basis, I'm probably just going to use Proton Mail. And I guess I am using a server, but I'm letting them configure it. Proton Mail also supports your own URLs if you want to do that. And it's not that expensive. David Mohan. XSX, yes, I do. We have a, it's not too long, but an interesting discussion on cross-site scripting, which we're going to go over today. I'm really just going to cover it in the amount of depth necessary for the test. Looking for... Jason Helms, Mike, how does PXE, are you sure you're asking me the right thing? With reimaging a PC over the network, or are they totally separate? They're totally separate. You can use PXE as a boot function, and certain imaging tools, Norton's Ghost is probably the most famous one. With Ghost, you can have a PXE server. It's not that hard to set this up either. You can set up one machine as a PXE server, and let's say you want to re-image 12 laptops to be identical by making one image on a PXE server and then letting Ghost, and Ghost handles all this, handles the PXE boot and everything, and does a really good job. Got to keep in mind, if you're re-imaging a PC over a network, PXE would be the best way to do that, right? Because you're in essence telling your computer, don't boot on anything locally, go out to the network and find this image and boot from that image. And if that image is the image you need to get copied to your hard drive, all the better, right? Rudy Poo Candy Ass, cool t-shirt, thanks. I love my NASA t-shirts, I got lots of them. Ice, A-Y-E-S, A-Y-E-S. Hello, Mike Meyers. Hello, AAs. Eyes. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a pretty straightforward one. We could go into more depth. I wasn't able to find a good online demo for anything interesting in terms of Crosssite. In fact, the demos I could find were basically all off of Kali Linux, and I don't like those. But we'll see if more questions come up. Christian Rays, D's nuts. D is like a bird. 2:06 p.m. George Courtonniel. Sorry for mauling your name there, George. I have a feeling I'm not the first person to have ever done that. I'm planning on doing the A+ exam soon for 001, but I got a token for the 901. Will I need a different code? So George, I'm not sure what a token is. We don't use the word token when we talk about these. What I can tell you is that what you may have is what's known as a voucher, was the term, the proper term to use, and that voucher is really just a number. If it's from the 901, you will almost certainly need a different code. Given the price of these things, you might want to call up CompTIA. Head over to their website, CompTIA, CompTIA.org, and tell them. And they may just take pity on you. You have an old voucher from the previous generation, and those do expire. But I have heard CompTIA having a soft spot for people who are nice. Oh, Christopher took the 001 and scored a 655. All right, so you're pretty close. First of all, Christopher, sorry you didn't pass, man. It's not the end of the world. You don't retake. How soon would you recommend retesting? Christopher, within 30 days. Possibly even within 2 weeks if you're feeling confident. I know it's a hassle, and I know it costs more money to apply for the test, but you know you're pretty well in your head studied up. We just need a little bit more, and you'll be fine. Bob Noob, what is your opinion on old malware back in the day that would show a black-white screen on boot up? I don't remember. Guys, there's so many malwares over the years, I can't even keep track. So it's interesting you guys are talking about the hats. Because as you know, we are literally in the middle of reshooting the Network Plus right now. And even Joe Ram, who's the new face for Network Plus for Total Seminars, he goes, it's hard to beat the one with the hats. So fair enough, man. We came up with that idea, just trying to, it came from an old exhibit in Disney World called Body Wars, which has been gone now for a long time. And it starred, it was like the people from Cheers or something. And one guy was the stomach, the other person was the colon, another was the esophagus. And they would flash the same television camera, and they created the sense of moving between levels through cranes, looking up and down, and by different hats. So I totally stole that from Disney. Oh, well, we do have some excitement here. So I get a call yesterday. You might be wondering, why am I at home when we were at the office on Monday? And the answer is that I got exposed to Corona hard, really hard. So 2 nights ago, I had some friends over, a couple of young folks who live next door to me. And we have a bottle of wine, just talking, And next thing you know, I get a call yesterday at around noon from one of the kids, and they're like, Mike, I've got a fever, I'm sick as a dog, and I've tested positive for Corona. So obviously I do not want to be at the production center in the middle of a video shoot with the possibility of doing a typhoid Mary on everybody. So I've zoomed back home, and I brought the studio back up. This was actually broken down too, by the way. And we are going to, I'm going to go ahead and wait one more day, and then I'll test myself one more time. We can buy tests over the counter here in the States. And I'll get myself tested one more time. And if that comes out negative, then I'm going to just treat it as a close call, and I'm going to let myself back out. I've been vaccinated and everything, but man, it's just like, we're getting close to the end. I feel that we're getting close to the end of this coronavirus, and the thought of getting coroned, I've been coroned, at what I perceive as this late in the game was a little frustrating. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully on Monday I'll be back in the offices, and I'll be producing from there again. So we're just using an abundance of caution here. I don't want my new SME, subject matter expert, Joe Ram, to get sick. So I'm kind of planning on it by myself. All right. Just looking, I got a big old scroll. Mike, this is from Andrew Hutz. Are you familiar with any OSINT tools like Multigo or Twint? Have you ever played around with anything like that? I have. My problem with any of these open source intelligence tools, Multigo, is that one I've used? It's been a while. Is that there's nothing particularly top secret about them. What they do is, instead of having to go to Facebook and Instagram and all this Pinterest and all this, I mean, all these tools do is it gives you a central point to type in the word, Andrew Hutz, stealer of candy, or something like that, and then see how that propagates out across all kinds of different social media platforms and other stuff like that. I can also tell you that those types of tools are the first tool that law enforcement goes to. In all due respect to my law enforcement folks out there, most law enforcement computer people are very, in my opinion, poorly trained, but they are given tools that smart people can use to figure a lot of stuff out. And any type of tool where we can type in, one or two terms and check out across all kinds of open source sources, then why not? Steve G. Zach Morial. Oh, look at him. Odyssey. Hello, Mike scored a 640 Core 1. Okay, we're getting close there, Ada. You can do it. Everybody loves the hats. I'm glad everybody's loving the hats. Oh, Toll at Gino. Careful, Mike is going to lump you in with me as the resident troublemaker. Oh, you guys, between Zach and Tolowit and Gino and David Mohan, and we've got plenty of troublemakers. All are welcome, of course. This thing's scrolling like crazy today. Tim SF at 2:12 p.m. Hello, Mike. I thank you personally for all the great CompTIA videos. I got so much benefit from them. God bless you. Thank you, Tim. Tim SF, is that San Francisco? Andrew Hutz, getting COVID at this point is like throwing an interception in the end zone. Really. Choco Taco, Alabama's numbers are back up. Well, even Texas numbers are back up, but not quite all the way back up. I haven't looked. I'm going to take a quick peek real quick. So what I'm checking is the 5-state Houston, Texas area. Yeah, we're coming. The effective reproduction rate is almost back to 1.0000000 here in Houston. And once we get that, that means that we've going to start flattening the curve and bring it back down, hopefully. This is frustrating, though. I won't deny it. But here in the 5 counties that make up the Houston area, it does look like we are now flattening out, and hopefully we'll start dropping back again. What is your opinion on test out to prepare for A+? By the way, I enjoy your books. Thank you, George. George, there are a number of companies out there. Test out is a competitor of mine. Is Test Out the CompTIA one? I always forget. You should purchase more than one set of practice questions. And in fact, that's why little AMAs like this are handy, because you should be working with other people. You should find somebody else out there and say, hey man, I'll buy one if you buy another. We can cross-pollinate each other. I guess test out's okay. You should always have two sources for practice questions. Always important. Andrew True, I am a stealer of candy. It's true. All right. Again, guys, anytime you see me turn my hair, is like I've got the chat window. I'm just trying to make sure I'm catching all the questions. Andrew Hutz, do you have any opinions on the OSCP certification for pen testers? No strong ones. Steve G, it is my last day at my current toxic job today. Well, congratulations, Steve. I hope you got another job ready to go. Guard Burgess, hey man, there's all these names from the past. Hi, Mike. Want you to know I passed the A+ second test 3 weeks ago. Now have my cert. Well done to you, Guard. Now, is that Guard, G-A-R-D-E, or is that like the Irish pronunciation? That'd be the Guard. Guard. Yeah, I know. If you're Irish and you heard me say that, if you have stomach pains right now, sorry about that. Yes, I am. I was exposed to COVID and I am self-quarantining. I've had one negative test already, but it was pretty early on. So I'm going to wait another full day and I'm going to test myself tomorrow afternoon. And if that one comes up negative, then I'm going to consider myself okay. Aaron Harding. Aaron Harding. Mike Meyers, the perfect stuff to listen to while you're swapping out a power supply. Hope you're going for a higher voltage at least. Yeah, that's right. We carpooled yesterday, so poor Scott Jernigan is also unfortunately quarantined. And Scott Jernigan is the weak little gazelle at the back, and we don't want him to die. Oh, Tolowit, don't even talk about anything about the amount of weight I've gained. So, like, if I fly one of you guys to come live with me for 4 months, I'll give you free room and board, and you get to play with technology. You won't get paid. But it's like, literally as I say it out loud, I realize how utterly pathetic I'm sounding. Have one of you guys, you can imagine like Andre, have Andre fly over here just to slap the sandwiches out of my mouth. My God. No, actually, you could have me lose a ton of weight just by standing at the front door and stomping on all the Uber Eats that comes in. Man, I'm telling you, Uber Eats is just, it's Satan, man. It's just, it's so good. Yeah, you could have quarantined together at Mike's place, Scott Jernigan. Yeah, well, that Scott Jernigan is... Andrew Hutz, Mike, is the OSI model getting phased out in favor of the TCP/IP model? No. In fact, it's the opposite. If there's one thing that, the TCP/IP model, I think, works much better because most networks are purely TCP/IP. However, OSI is more descriptive. And to be honest with you, if you ripped presentation layer out of OSI, I might still prefer that over the TCP layer, mainly because the TCP layer really kind of slaps together layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 of the internet. Of the OSI is all kind of ignored under the TCP/IP model. Ugh. All right. Bob Noob, what are the symptoms of a rat on a system? The one that's well programmed and hides well. There's almost none. Running anti-malware is probably going to be your best hope. The goal and function of rats is to be as subtle as possible, and they're very, very good at being subtle today. Patricia Grace, is Dave Rush traveling? I'm not sure what Dave is doing. He had some things going on. Andrew Hutz, Mike, how do you feel about Norton antivirus? I feel it's bloated. It takes up too much space. I'm sure it's better than it used to be, but I've been running exclusively the built-in Microsoft anti-malware, and I don't feel that I've had anything short of great success with that. From a 600 watt to an 850, 80 plus gold. No, I want, David Z. Interior, higher voltage? Yeah, I want higher voltage. Sorry. Did I say voltage? I meant wattage. Just looking for questions. Yeah, I'm out of control. I need someone to save me. I'm unsavable. Save yourself, kids. If you only knew a classically trained cook who is now into tech. I'm this close to being serious, guys. I've tried everything, you know? And I just hate thin people who are like, oh, well, just say no, you know? And it's like, man, I have literally caught myself overeating, right? You know when you're fat people know when we're overeating. We do, okay? And you're just eating, you're like, why can't I just put it down, put down the Big Mac, you fat, and you can't. It's like, wow. It's like addiction, man. Andre, can the wife and kids come too? Absolutely. David Mohan, what is your favorite domain and Network Plus objectives? Honestly, I don't remember all the objectives right off the top of my head. I like wireless. You know, I'm not a big security person. I teach enough security because I want you guys to be able to move past Security Plus into CASP, CYSA, and from there, but I've never considered myself a security person. I'm a light blue collar tech and a screwdriver tech. And when I say a screwdriver tech, I'm the kind of guy who likes to go out there and bolt and unbolt things. Is that where you're going to make the most money today? Probably not. We still need techs, but we need the techs who are going to, you know, be ganking around with their AWS instances and stuff like that, as opposed to, you know, the schmooze like me who are actually going out there on a forklift and, you know, yanking out bad racks and stuff. We're probably one of the lowest paid people out there. George, when will your Udemy courses be on sale again? George, every few weeks they go on sale. In fact, we don't even have a lot of control on when they're on sale. So George, I could warn you a few days ahead of time. Mike means TCP model rather than TCP layer. Whoopsies. Today is faux pas day. Houston could be a paradise too. It is a paradise. Gino, I'm just glad there's no Wiener Schnitzels in Houston. So Gino, I have a friend of mine who is German, and she has taught me how to make all kinds of delicious German food. So, you know, if you need Jägerwurst, Jaeger schnitzels rather. I'm good at those. I can make just about anything. I can even make pretzels. It's a pretty weird thing to make. But yeah, if anybody needs any German food, I'm your boy. Dave Rush is on vacation. Yes, I do not know if Dave Rush is on vacation. Garda is an Irish guard. That's what I meant, Alan. Garda. Or even, don't they call them the police? I don't know. Guillermo Moreno, Mike's looking thick. Yeah, that's a nice way to, you call me thick or fluffy, because we certainly wouldn't want to say morbidly obese or BMI over 36. Bob Noob, overall, besides certification, what is one of the best books related to computers you ever read? Wow. I still have it. It's a little bit outdated now, but boy, was it an interesting book when I got it. Where is it? Hang on, guys. If I can find this book, it's definitely worth showing to y'all. And again, it's an old book. Oopsies. I don't have it. Oh, I've got something close to it. Again, these are old books and they're out of print, but they're actually kind of handy. This is The Indispensable Pentium book by Hans-Peter Mesmer. This book is 15 years old now, but it really was the first time where, gosh, so much that I learned there. It's almost hard to begin, how do you wrap it up? Like the first time I discovered that Pentium was a 32-bit chip, but it didn't have 32 address wires. And I was, why is that? And just little stuff like that. There may be another book. Can I reach this safely? All right, guys. If you hear something go crash, that's just Mike reaching for a book. I would love to show you this book if I could. Oh, I can get it. This was another really good book. So this is Addison Wesley Press, and they still make these. These are good books. They basically describe all kinds of expansion buses and things like that. That's for PCI Express. I found it extremely handy. All right, let's go ahead and do our quick. So this is. Let's talk about Crosssite scripting real quick. Now, guys, what we're going to be doing here on Crosssite is I want to make sure you understand conceptually what it is, and all of the examples that I saw either A, took longer than I wanted to do within a single AMA. I probably have to make a course out of it, or secondarily, they didn't do anything that you can really reproduce easily, you know? So this is going to be an overview. So let's go ahead and do a quick road through and make sure we first of all understand what is Crosssite scripting, okay? So Crosssite scripting is, hello, here it comes. Trying to get this thing to move forward. I can do it the old-fashioned way. There we go. So that's an attack on a web application to trick it into sending data to unauthorized users. That's really what it is. That's all Crosssite scripting is. Let me develop this a little bit. It's mostly performed with JavaScript injections into different web forms or directly from tricked users themselves. So there's two different ways we go about doing this. And then the reason we do Crosssite scripting, it's really good for stealing user data. For example, if I want access to somebody's social media page, this is one way to do it. If I want to steal your cookie data and pull it in and read it for myself, I can do it. And for intercepting trusted account information. So when we're talking about Crosssite scripting, we're going to be inserting JavaScript, almost exclusively JavaScript, although there's nothing inherent that it has to be JavaScript, just shows you what the penetration of JavaScript is. Inserting JavaScript into, well, wherever we can in order to get web applications to give us some form of user data. So we're not really, I mean, the victim here isn't the application. Now we're going to be taking advantage of weak web applications that don't check their data carefully and have that come in and allow scripts to be run where it was something that was just looking for a last name, for example. But so the victim is really the users themselves, the people whose information we're trying to grab itself. And we do that by taking advantage of weaknesses in web applications. And the big weakness we're taking advantage of is the fact that people don't check their data very well. That way it allows us to insert a script routine when really all we want to do is, with the application things, we're just typing in our last name or a username or something like that. Okay, so now that we understand that, let's just let's keep it on here. All right, so we've got three big pieces here. We're going to have some web application in the sky, which is kind of going to be our target. And there's Evil Mike. Now, I just have a person there, but he's got a computer in front of him. And then there's going to be somebody on a web browser somewhere. So in order to do cross-site scripting, you're going to have these three things are always going to come into play. Now, you have different types of attacks depending on how we go about doing this. Whoops. So The bad guy's job is to inject unauthorized or untrusted scripts into web applications. That's what all cross-site scripting is about. And how we go about doing that gives us different types of cross-site scripting attacks. All right, so that's what we got. So here we go. The first one, and the most simple, is known as the persistent or stored cross-site scripting. With persistent or stored cross-site scripting, what you got is, we got our 3 pieces here. So what's going to happen is the bad guy is going to directly try to talk to the web application. He might be doing this through opening up a browser on his own system, or like pulling in the HTTP information and then try to insert script literally right into that itself. Then once that happens, then anybody who's reading that application can look at it on any web browser. So this would be an example of somebody trying to, for example, take over somebody's personal Facebook page. So one of the ways we're going to do this, here's the bad guy, and the web application may pop up for a username and password at some point, and instead we're going to try to insert some little piece of script in there and see and hope that the application, instead of checking it thoroughly and stopping it, will actually allow that to run. The second type of cross-site scripting is known as reflective. Now, in reflective, we still have our 3 major players here, but what's going to happen in this case is that the bad guy is going to go talk directly to a person themselves. And these are going to do this through like evil email or something like that. And inside that email is going to be scripts. Now, the person who receives the email, they just might see a click here for free money. But so what they're going to do, here's our person who's a victim. We're going to get them to click on something. And then by them clicking on it, they can then query the web application. And keep in mind, folks, it doesn't even have to be the web page that they think they're on. I mean, one of the beautiful parts about cross-site scripting is that we can insert scripts to do almost anything. So you might be sitting there thinking you're on cheese.com looking up the qualities of Limburger. In the meantime, you're clicking on stuff that's going over to other websites and doing naughty, naughty things, okay? So the important thing you got to remember with cross-site scripting is that we're just trying to get the web app to give us certain kinds of information. And we do that by typing in scripts into places where it's not expecting a script to show up. All right. There. So here we go. Here, this is the example. Dear Target, whatever, click on this button, and they click on it, and hopefully it does something naughty and gets it out there. Okay. So the last type of cross-site scripting I want to talk about is DOM-based. This is more rare, but it is a little bit more nefarious. It's very, very simple. It's very, very similar to reflected, but there's going to be one huge difference, and that is, here I am, I'm going to go talk to the web browser, and in this case, I don't even have a web application involved. I'm in essence working on the distribute object model, the DOM, of whatever is coming down to the browser of the web application and trying to do whatever I want to do right from there. So the web application isn't even involved in there. Now, we could get into a big, long discussion of, and we almost ought to, but and that's what's kind of the cool part of doing the cross-site scripting is that there's a lot of other things we probably ought to be talking about. Like in particular, as a technician, this would be an interesting class. I'm not ready to do it right now. I can't obligate myself, unfortunately, but I have to do something that really gets more into how do web apps work, and just server side versus client side and some things like that. It could be pretty interesting. Anyway, what we've covered right there is everything you're going to need to be able to pass the Security Plus, and I think there's a slight mention in Net Plus. But David Mohan did ask me a question on Monday, and I wanted to go ahead and address that too, and that was cross-site request forgery. Let's go ahead and do that really, really quick here, guys. So in a cross-site request forgery, it's just a cross-site request forgery. Here, let me get this going. There we go. So what will happen is that this person here is going to be making some kind of trusted connection, all right? Now, when we talk about trusted connections, there's a lot of different ways to do this kind of stuff. And remember, when you're making a secure, like you're using HTTPS, you are sharing a symmetric key, but then along with that key, you can also have stuff like the ID of the session that is set by the web server itself. So you can have a lot of these unique pieces of information. And the idea with cross-site request forgery is that we want to intercept that. So what's going to happen here is that we will then go up, and he's talking back and forth, whatever his secure connection is, and we'll get enough of the information from him that we can then go directly to the web application itself and do whatever we want to do. So that is a cross-site request forgery, which is just one of the things we can do with cross-site scripting. So I believe one of the questions we heard yesterday was, is cross-site scripting and cross-site forgery the same thing? And the answer is no. One begets the other. 225. Mike, what's the difference between ROM and flash memory? So you got to be careful here. So ROM traditionally means read-only memory. So read-only memory is any form of memory that it's burned in at the factory and you can't change it. If you went back 30 years ago or more, then we went from read-only memory to programmable read-only memory, where you could actually reprogram it. A lot of times you have to pull it out and put it into a special programmer, but you wouldn't have to throw the chip out and get a new one. Then you had electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, which have a little window on the top, so you could pull out a ROM chip, erase it, put it into a programmer and reprogram it. But almost 30 years ago, we came out with flash memory. Flash memory is ROM. It's read-only memory. However, it can be reprogrammed electrically via flashing. So not only can it be reprogrammed electrically, you don't need a ultraviolet light to erase it, but you can reprogram it in its mount. This is a big deal. So it means in order to reprogram it, I don't have to yank it out, put it into a programmer, reburn the chip, and then put it back in. So that is a huge benefit of flash memory. So flash is a form of ROM. ROM is almost a word that you'd almost never use by itself, simply because it doesn't exist. Pretty much flash memory controls everything today in terms of the types of read-only memory we use. Inviolate tree at 225. How far behind I am? Oh, I'm not that bad. Hello, Mike. I have your CompTIA A+ book. Tom Pinkerton. My wife is not into tech at all, but I can have her get on here and preach to you about her way. No, it won't work. Tom, I've tried every diet, and they've almost all worked until I quit doing them. COVID is polymorphic. I guess technically it is, huh? I can see you guys are having a lot of fun on that one, so I'm going to slide past all that. You guys are having fun talking among yourselves. Algae here 128, the gal whose name I could never ever remember. You should just change your name because I'm never going to remember it. And here in just a moment, both Dave Rush or at least Scott will text me and tell me your name because I can never remember. I'm so embarrassed. I'm literally checking right now. Okay. Yeah, I think there's some stuff we could do on web apps that would be pretty interesting. I want to think about this for a little bit, guys, because in order to do it, it could be like a 2-hour class. And it's not to turn you into a web app developer, but you know, it surprises me how few people know how to use development tools on web browsers. Firefox is just wonderful for that. I'm surprised how few people haven't actually played with containers. Lots of us have played with virtual machines, but it surprises me how few people have played with containers and the beauty that containers are and what they can do for us. Being able to run with GitLab, which is probably the primary place for repositories for different types of labs and things like that. Patricia Grace, I'd like to know how to show up forms on my site. Yeah, now that becomes very programmatic. There's all kinds of tools. OWASP has all kinds of rules on, you know, how to check your data. It's interesting, but that would be a big topic. Bob Noob, do you ever play Mario Kart? No. I've never been much of a console person, to be honest with you. My gaming platform is a PC, always has been. Watching the basic router configuration video on LinkedIn Learning. Curious on router firmware upgrades. You can set up prompts on router for firmware updates. It depends on the route. Everybody's different here. Every manufacturer of router provides different methodologies for updates. In general, my experience has been the best way to double check is to go to that site and look, which for me is a once every 6 months to once a year experience. Some certain brands of routers do provide automatic updates, but that makes me nervous. Or even letting you know there's an update. I want to be able to do it myself. Silvio Ferreira, what would you, at 2:44 p.m., what would you use to fix a computer with a blue screen Windows 10? Would you use Venti or Hirons? Venti? I always get nervous when I see stuff like this. Like, why don't I know about these tools? I don't even know what these tools are, so I'm literally going to take a picture of it and check them out. I would use no tool. I would use no software on a blue screen. I wouldn't need it. I'd diagnose the blue screen. I would read the blue screen itself and see if it gives me any clues there. Secondary, I'd look at the install.log file that would be in the root directory of the C drive. Most blue screens that are persistent are there because you've done something. You've just added a piece of hardware. You've just you've swapped hard drives or something. So most blue screens are caused by a piece of very broken hardware. So if I'm getting a blue screen, and I'm consistently getting it, I would try to go back one step and try to run the thing without the hardware and see where it went. You can also, then on top of that, you know, Windows repair environment, it's getting harder and harder to actually be a human being and help Windows fix itself. Windows repair environment is terrifyingly useful. But now I want to know what Venti or Hirons. And Silvio, I'm just going to gamble you got that spelled halfway close. All right. You know what? I will put Scott Jernigan or David Mohan or somebody help me remember. And I can't do it next week, but maybe after that we could do some kind of how do web apps work? Web apps for the common tech. Ooh, I like that. Web apps for the common tech. And just kind of go through the structure and how it all works and that kind of stuff. But I tell you, one thing I am going to do this week is I'm going to take a good look at this Venti and Hirons and see what they are and see if they're worth a hoot. Elbows here. So Steve G, I will check out. Steve G's telling me at 2:49 what Venti and Hirons are. I think I've played with Hirons before. I don't remember being impressed with it at all. But I will check it out. You guys are all chatting among yourselves very aggressively today, which is good, which is also very good. Guys, do keep in mind that we have our Discord channel. Maybe Scott Jernigan can post up some information on our Discord channel. The Discord channel, it's not a Total Seminars Discord channel. It's not Mike Meyers' Discord channel. It is run by my buddy Jose Braden on a handshake, and it is a great place to drop questions in. I get on there, Dave Rush gets on there, Scott Jernigan gets on there, Michael Smyer from my office gets on there. But more importantly, over the last year and a half, we've developed quite the little cadre of technicians. Many of the folks you see actually here on our channel have proven themselves time and time again to be excellent techs, and they're also on there. So it's a good place to drop stuff and get answers for just about anything from practice questions on CompTIA certs to general tech issues. And Scott Jernigan, can you put a post up there for me, please? So people can get onto the Discord channel. Bob Noob, favorite Windows version and Windows versus Mac. I like Macs plenty for certain things, running Adobe Creative Cloud, for coding development. It's hard to beat that, although Windows is quickly catching up now. I'm just a PC guy. What can I say? Favorite Windows version? What was my favorite Windows version? Probably Windows 2000. I liked that version when it came out. Zach, I shared a video about Venti way back in Discord. I'll have to check it out. I'll play with it. Navy Bliss, is Python for networking, scripting, or programming better for cybersecurity? Not necessarily. Just that, I mean, Navy Bliss, Python is here. It's, you know, I mean, in my opinion, all you need to do today is learn JavaScript and Python as a programmer, and you're pretty much there. Just looking for questions. And you guys are chatting away. Bob Noob, can we do a competition? We sure can, buddy. It is 2:55. I'm going to try to be wrapping up here relatively quickly. So, for my buddy, Bob Noob, let's do a competition. Remember, I'm the one who has to actually get a question for us. So. We are going to do a competition, folks. Now, the goal of this competition is for you to win a 90-day access to whatever practice questions of ours that you'd like. So we're pretty easy on that. I'm going to pull up a multiple choice question. Be aware that this multiple choice question is not going to be fair. Is anything going to close here? There we go. It's not going to be fair. Whoever shows up first is the winner. And just because you show up first on your stream, on your chat, doesn't mean you're going to show up first on mine. So be aware of that. So what I'm doing now is I'm quickly going through. We haven't done an A+ question in ages. Let's do an A+ question. I'm digging up a question, folks. Oh, God. Establish a theory of probable cause. No. So there are still a lot of questions. I wonder. I'm pretty sure this question's still on the test. I got to be honest with you guys. I've been working in Security Plus and Net Plus for so long that I have not actually looked at A+ in almost a year and a half now. But let's go ahead and do this question. You guys ready? Now, in order to answer, you have to write out the answer. You cannot type, it's multiple choice. So you can't write A, B, C, or D, okay? So you have to write out what, or at least enough so I know what you're talking about. So with that, let's go. This is a slightly dated question, but even if it's not on the objectives, which I'm pretty sure it is, it's not that old. You still should know the answer to this. Okay, I'll quit talking and let's do this. Here we go. Which type of these connections supports both analog and digital video signals? Is it DVI-A, DVI-AD, DVI-D, or DVI-I? Remember, do not type A, B, C, or D. Type it out. David Mohan, do not speak the answer, type the answer. You are absolutely right, sir. All right, we got plenty of good answers in here. I'm going to give this one, it is DVI-I, isn't it? I'm a little rusty here. Yeah, D. DVI-I. So the answer is DVI-I, and I'm going to give this one to my buddy Bob Noob. Bob Noob, congratulations. Bob Noob, in order to claim your prize, you need to contact Kathy Yale of our office. In order to Kathy Yale, send an email to Kathy Y, that's K-A-T-H-Y-Y, at totalsem.com. Be sure to add your name, and whatever your name is here. So make sure you got to put in Bob Noob in that email, and which practice exam you wish to have. And from there on in, Miss Kathy will take care of it. David Boy. That's Kathy with a K. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut off. It's coming up to 3 o'clock as we speak. I will, in order for me to do a web apps kind of course, you guys are going to have to bug me a little bit and remind me a couple of times, or 4 or 5 times. And I've got to get over the hump on a few things. We got to get Joe Ram finishing up the Network Plus, and I've got videos I have to shoot for the Network Plus as well as all, because we're kind of like co-authoring this, and so that's a few more weeks of work there. But we'll have some fun. Hopefully on Monday, my COVID test will be negative, and I'll be back into the studio because we're shooting all this week and all next week too. And I'd like to give another tour of the facility, except we'll do it a little bit slower and better, kind of talk about what they do. Maybe get Rodney or Zach or Shannon or some of the back office folks, the production folks in there as well. They really talk about some pretty cool stuff. But I think you guys will really like that. And other than that, don't forget Dave Rush's AMA, DRAMA, or Drama, which will be right here on this channel at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time. And other than that, I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So, folks, this is your Uncle Mike saying good night. And, folks, I will see you guys next Mondays. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.